Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Let's learn CRISC of part 2, domain 2. Friends, all topics which we are going to cover in this part are based on CRM 7. So let's have an overlook about the topics which we are going to discuss in this part. The topics are: first, internal threat; second, employee access threat; third, external threat; fourth, emerging threat; and at last, threat misuse and abuse case modeling. Right? Friends, if you have any doubt regarding any topic what we have discussed earlier, please do connect with us. Please do comment. Those who are undergoing the course, right? Please check yourself with the question and answer series, which all questions are based on the real life events, right? That may appear in your series examination. Understood? So friends, please do appear the question answer series and be attentive in the class. Without wasting time, let's start with the first topic of today's, that is about the internal threat, right? Okay, friends, internal threat. Do you know that around 22% of the cybersecurity incidents which is happening in the world are caused due to the internal threats? Because friends, however, companies do often neglect to consider the risk of internal threats, even though they can result in the critical data breaches, right? So somewhat as the name suggests, that the internal threat, that the internal cybersecurity threat, right, are the threat posed by the individuals that originate within an organization itself, right? They can be current employee, former employee, or external contractors or the vendors, right? Essentially, anyone who can access to the company device or data may pose a danger, right? So this form of data breach involve an internal attacker, understood, accessing the sensitive company information with malicious intent. So friends, attackers can include both current and the former employees, right? So despite the fact that many businesses refer to the employee and other staff as their greatest asset, workers may become dissatisfied if they get bad treatment or insufficient training or insufficient time to complete their job, which may lead to business impact, or intentional or unintentional, right? Somewhat disillusionment and animosity might increase the likelihood of mistakes, carelessness, and more deliberate activities like stealing. So friends, significant knowledge and the skill gap are left when key individuals move from another organization, leaving the system ineffective, right? Employees are responsible for large number of purposeful and inadvertent company consequences, right? A dissatisfied employee may purposefully hack the system or reveal the data that put the company at risk for legal trouble or damage to its reputation, right? So employee may be forced or under pressure to divulge the trade secret for political or financial motives, right? Many personnel have access to the resource that are well above what is really needed to do their job, right? Which can be used in an assault. So proper provisioning of access is the answer to this issue, but it is only part of the solution, right? Because it does not take into account the need to know and least privilege principles. Understood? So friends, any system contains trusted insider, and it is challenging to foresee or prevent one of them from betraying the confidence, right? Okay, moving to the next, that is employee access threat, right? Friends, an employee contractor, right, or other business partner who currently or previously had access to the company network, system, or data and purposefully intercepted or interrupted or you can say somewhat modified or fabricated data on company's information system is considered a malicious insider. Understood? So the recruiting procedure and a screening of applicants' credentials and attitude are the initial step in tackling the personal risk. Somewhat we can say that the candidates seeking employment may have provided the false information on their resume or claimed credentials like education, qualification, or experience that they did not hold. So when an employee is hired, they should be asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement or inform the company ethics and standard, and where allowed by the law, given the opportunity to evaluate the reference and submit to the background checks. Understood? So the solution to the problem is proper provisioning of access, including principles such as need to know and the least privilege. Any system has trusted insider, and one of them choosing to violate trust is difficult to predict or prevent. Right? Coming to the next, managing employee threat. Right? There are 4 types we can manage an employee threat. First is upon hire. What we do? In upon hire, we say that they review the qualification and attitude of prospective employees. Second, review and require signature of ethics and policies of the enterprise and non-disclosure agreement. Second, throughout employment. In this, review organizational policies and responsibilities through awareness session and regular management review. Similarly, regularly interact with employees to understand any frustration or complaint or issue and do seek to resolve those issues. Next, after ending the employment, ensure all organization assets are returned, that is ID badges, equipments and uniforms. And similarly, access to the system, network and facility should be revoked immediately prior to departure. At last, for the third party, vendor staff, business process outsourcing staff or any other external individuals viewed as an external threat usually has some internal access, higher knowledge and capability to potentially initiate a threat from within. Right? Friends, we all know that the employees are the backbone of every organization. So they play a crucial role in controlling and also reducing the threat to the organization. Though awareness seminar and routine management review, workers should be informed of organizational policies and their duties during their employment. Right? So interacting with employees to learn about any annoyance, complaints or challenges they may be having and making an effort to find solution is one of the finest employee-based control. So friends, the worker is more likely to pose a danger during times of strike, layoff or merger, relocation and reorganization. So another danger is a worker who has recently been demoted or passed over for a promotion. So we have to take care of all the issues, right? So in order to prevent using them to acquire unauthorized access in the future, an employee must return all organization asset at the end of their work, as we have discussed earlier, including identify badges and tools. Tools we can say such as computers, mobile phones, access card, etc. and uniforms. So friends, to reduce the chance of crimes of opportunity, systems, network and facility access should also be terminated right before the employee leaves. Similarly, at the third party who currently operate in an organizational internal environment might potentially be the source of internal danger. So the risk practitioner should also take into account any employee or vendors, business process outsourcing providers or other external parties that interact with them. Despite the fact that they might be categorized as external threat, they frequently have some inside access as well as the greater knowledge and capability needed to possibly launch a threat from within an organization. Right? Coming to the next, external threat. Right? What is external threat? Friends, as we have discussed the internal threat, definitely on the other hand, the external threats are the refer to the risk of somebody from outside of a company, right, who attempt to exploit the system vulnerability through the use of malicious software, hacking, sabotage or social engineering, right? This can be much harder to deal with the internal threat, as you cannot monitor the people from the outside like you can with the internal employees, nor can you predict what they might do next, right? So to better understand the external threat, we will learn about what kind of external threat there are and how they function to cause the kind of damage they do, right? So danger to the information system from outside the company can come from anywhere and can take a variety of forms in a network environment where data are kept or processed offshore or with the third-party service providers. Similarly, espionage, theft, sabotage, terrorism, criminal activity, and things which are being reflected in the viewfoil, right, are the just few of the risks that could occur. Similarly, unpredictable natural occurrences like flood, storm, earthquake, and tornadoes can cause significant disruption and harm. Friends, the risk practitioner may be able to recognize the hazard related to the natural disaster and take the appropriate precaution by using government data and weather monitoring services. Right? Moving to the next, about the external threat actors. Friends, in external threat actor like criminal activists, corporate spies, thieves, advanced persistent threat. So let's discuss one by one, right? In this, what happens that these are just a few examples of a various external threat actors, right? Each with their own technique, objective, and capabilities. Friends, we all know that hacktivists will have a distinct set of talents and motives to bear in an effort to publicly embarrass or disgrace an organization, whereas nation-state threat actors will be trained and driven to break into the system for military or commercial goals. Understood? Advanced, highly skilled attackers who are dedicated in their attempt to exploit the system and network are referred to as APTs, right? Advanced persistent threat. So the danger of compromise is substantial due to their increasing expertise and potency of the technology they use, right? So we can say like the majority of the breaches are caused by the target of opportunity rather than deliberate assault, right? So let's make it more clear, right? So as it is said that the criminal, hacktivist, corporate spies. So let's understand who are the hacktivists. So hacktivists are the group of criminals who unite to carry out cyber attack in support of political cause, right? So hacktivists, we can say that typically target the entire industry, but sometimes attack a specific organization who they feel don't align with their potential views or practices. Similarly, corporate spies, we can say, for example, hiring an ex-employee of a competitor with the intent of gaining access to the insider information. Understood? Similarly, thieves, self-understood. Or move to the next, that is advanced persistent threat. These are an advanced works to access the computer network, right, and system without being detected or noticed. So these threats, sometimes enacted by the nation state or state sponsored group, can steal private information, damage IT system, and disrupt the function of vital systems, each having different method, motivations, and capabilities. Understood? So where nation state threat actors will be skilled and determined to break into the system for military or economic purposes, hacktivists will have a different set of skills and motivation to bear in an attempt to publicly humiliate or shame an organization. Right? So most breaches are the result of the target of opportunities, not determined attack. As seen in the annual report from other organizations, many enterprises are breached because they were discovered to be the easy target and threat actors took advantage of their vulnerabilities. Understood? Okay, moving to the next, moving to the emerging threat, right? So let's discuss about the emerging threat. The emerging threat, the indicators are unusual activity of a system, right? Repeated alarms, degraded system or network performance, new or excessive activity in logs, and Internet of Things device usage. The common issues are that the compromised organizations have evidence of emergent threat prior to the actual breach. And role of risk practitioner. In this, the role of risk practitioner is to be alert to the emergence of new technologies. Similarly, prepare for the introducing new technologies, right? In this, let's understand it. In this, what happens? Unusual behavior of a system, that is a frequent alert which shows as an indicator deteriorated system or a network performance or new or excessive activity in logs can all be a sign of growing danger. So the evidence of the emergent risk is frequently presented in the compromised organization logs for before the actual penetration, yet the data is either ignored or not recognized. So when a threat and ineffective monitoring and response are present, a breach may result. Understood? However, we can say that the majority of technologies are developed with a focus on function and purpose rather than giving adequate thought to the security implications. Right? So as a result, new technology often lead to the creation of fresh vulnerabilities and occasionally even functions as a threat actor itself. So in particular, if these technologies offer cost saving or a competitive advantage, the risk practitioner has to be aware of the development of new technology and ready for their integration into the company. Similarly, Internet of Things is one example of a revolution in how business view technology assets. While its risks are obvious, it has attracted a wide range of businesses with its promise of drastically lowering the cost of both the initial purchase of IT assets and frequency at which they must be updated. Understood? In this, the strategy that places a strong emphasis on rejecting new technologies is unlikely to last when something receives executive sponsorship. Right? Coming to the next, additional source for the threat information. What are the additional sources? First, interview. Second, media report. Third, observation. Fourth, logs. Fifth, self-assessment. And last is the third party assessment, which will accumulating all of them, it will give the user feedback and the vendor report. So let's discuss one by one. Coming to the first, that is interview, right? Friends, we all know that an effective way to learn about the company from people who are most familiar with the procedures are most likely to comprehend their basic operation is to interview the employees, right? However, there are certain difficulties with the interview. One is that many individuals exaggerate their personal significance as well as that of their team or department because they want to be recognized as internal contributors to the company purpose. Another is that individual could not be completely comprehend the overarching business process or how their department and other departments are interdependent. So in rare circumstances such as when there is a clear carelessness or criminality, someone may purposefully give the false information. Understood? So by adopting best practices such as, which are best practices, we can say that the prior to the interview, learn as much as you can about the business process to cut down the time spent giving generic description, right? Or before the interview, you can also obtain and examine supporting materials, right? Such as process maps, SOPs, or network topologies, whatever. Similarly, prepare your questions in advance and provide them to interviewees so that they may bring any essential papers, reports, or data. Understood? Avoid creating enormous expectations about the privacy of interview replies, right? So the risk practitioner should be mindful that the individual who were made accessible for the interview might not be the best candidate to respond to the question about the risk. The executive sponsor of the program may be able to help the risk practitioner get access to the appropriate individual quickly when schedule conflict or other issue obstruct the risk management process. Similarly, coming to the media report, we can say that the newspaper, television, and articles and social media are all examples of the media sources that may be a good source of information, right? So concerning danger or occurrence, but they should still be treated with a fair dose of professional skepticism and critical thoughts. Understood? So friends, when a media communication may have an effect on an organization stakeholder, employee, customers, or the business partners, the risk practitioner should notify those in the position of authority. They should also be ready to offer advice on how to handle a threat that may be mentioned in the media. Understood? So the appropriate department within the company need to inform all stakeholders about any possible danger that has been mentioned in the news stream. Right? Coming to the next, that is observation. Friends, we all know that watching a process as an outsider may bring to light problems that people caring about the operation are unable to perceive as a clearly. Right? So it may also assist to spot instances when documented processes are not being followed or where processes are discovered to be deficient. Right? So the risk practitioner will find it particularly useful to evaluate exercise and real world activities result from the viewpoint of an observer from beginning to end. Right? So the risk practitioner should first take into account what is actually happening and make sure that it is reflected in workflow. Later, these workflow can be compared to the stated procedures and expected outcomes from the process. Right? Coming to the next, that is logs. We all know that logs are how important the logs are to maintain the logs are, right? Threat may be found in the logs quite effectively. So these logs may be used to correlate events from the various sources to detect a threat or an incident when consumed in the security information and event management technologies. Next, self-assessment. In the self-assessment in the area of responsibility, many businesses promote direct management participation in risk and control effectiveness monitoring, right? So local managers are well suited to assess compliance with the process, recurrent issues, risk trend and vulnerabilities since they frequently have insight into the behavior of their people and everyday operations. Understood? Coming to the next, that is third party assessment. The enterprise, its process, incident, logs, right, and threat environment may be reviewed or else audited or verified or compliance and analyzed for third party, right? So this information on the risk, that is control effectiveness, that is design and operational efficacy, vulnerabilities and compliance can be found there. Understood? So the company may also gain from the expertise, objectivity and credibility of a third party organization whose assurance that the organization is managing risk in accordance with the senior management direction is compliant with the standard and the good practices may be seen as more credible than the result of a self-assessment carried out by the staff member within the organization, right? Or else we can say who may be biased or to ensure performance goals are being achieved or otherwise professionally or per se unethical, right? These all accumulate and give the user feedback, right? In this what happens that the user of the system are in a great position to understand the system, right? As we all know, so its flaws and any vulnerabilities, right? Interacting with the user and learning about their problems and worries with the system may reveal the area where security restriction might be gotten around for comfort or increased productivity, right? So as an illustration, if user frequently export data from the system to create or customize report or perform analysis using the basic office application, the risk practitioner should check this, right? Similarly, coming to the vendor report, friends, information on the recent threat, vulnerabilities, new malware subtypes or evolving attack technique may be found from a variety of sources, right? The free or paid report analysis offered by the several government sponsored cert and security vendors can be important source of information for the risk practitioner, right? So in terms of delivery resilience and security, a renewed focus on the global IT supply chain presented a difficult risk that cannot be disregarded, right? Therefore, the business must make sure that they are evaluating the risk related to this sector and vendor report may give them the information they need. Moving to the next, let's discuss about the threat misuse and abuse case modeling, right? Okay, what is misuse case modeling? In the misuse case modeling, look at the various possible errors or mistakes, unintentional deviations from expected user behavior that a system may experience. Similarly, in abuse case modeling, it examines the security and privacy interaction of the system or user or data and stakeholders. it considers the complete interaction between the system and actors. Similarly, the result of the interaction are harmful to the system, user, or stakeholders in the system. Coming to the next, threat attribution. Friends, it is a process used to attempt to identify the threat actors behind an attack and their motivations. Catalog indicators of companies and indicators of attack to associate attack with a threat actor. They balances with the strategy, goals, and objectives of the organization, and at last it consider purpose of establishing capabilities and quality of data available. Right? So we can say that a misuse can be maybe accidental and implies that if you are using the system in a way not designed to. Understood? Similarly, abuse is usually premeditated and purposeful. You can abuse a system without misusing it by doing legitimate activities in an unauthorized manner. Right? So, friends, threat modeling is the process of mapping the probable strategies, tactics, procedures, and techniques that an adversary may employ to carry out an assault. Right? So, we can say that when attempting to breach a system, a threat agent often tries various tools, scan for weaknesses, and employ both technical and non-technical methods. So the risk practitioner must consider as many of these techniques and strategies as they can in order to create effective control that can counter potential danger. So threat modeling enables risk practitioner, system developer, designer, and operator to construct the system with an eye toward defensive control, built-in security features, and optimal placement within a strategy of overlapping defenses. Right? So we can say that understanding the instance, right, of misuse and abuse makes it possible to build a resilient system that can withstand mistakes or misuse and abuse. Okay? So the friends, the practice of attempting to pinpoint the threat actor and their objective behind an assault is known as threat attribution. Understood? In order to link an attack with a particular threat actor, this often significantly depends on the use of forensic analysis to gather evidence and catalog known threat indicators of compromise and indicators of attack. Right? So threat attribution may be challenging, though not possible, and must be balanced with the organization's strategy, goals, and objectives. Right? So as the accuracy and confidence associated with the attribution will vary depending on the quality of data available and can require a significant investment, and the purpose of establishing capabilities such as cyber attribution has to be fully considered as to the value and the benefit provided to the organization. Right? Here we come to the end of today's part 2, domain 2, that is of IT risk assessment. Friends, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit like button, and do comments if you want to understand any other topic in an easier way. Right? Thank you for watching.